coming up today, President Park Geun-hye calls for greater transparency in government affairs and a stronger rule of law. She also pledges to root out corruption. The Korean economy grows 2.6% in 2015, falling short of the government's target range of 3%. Plus, the mass exodus of tourists off Korea's southern resort island of Jeju is well underway after heavy snowfall grounded flights earlier this week. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Tuesday, the 26th of January. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. We are going to start at the nation's top office, where President Park Geun-hye has received her final policy briefing laying out ministry's plans for the year. She called for national innovation and sustainable growth, greater accessibility to government data, and a more transparent administration. Our presidential office correspondent Song Ji-sun starts us off.
Sustainable growth based on national innovation with basic principles. That's what the Park administration's aiming for, to build a safer, happier, and just nation where law and order stand firm. To help make that possible, President Park asked for concrete plans for responding to civilian complaints during the fifth status report from her cabinet. She also emphasized the efficient use of big data. As part of a Government 3.0 initiative, the administration will release 22 sets of government-owned public data, including real estate transaction prices. President Park also called for a stronger anti-corruption drive, saying that Seoul stands at 27th in the Global Corruption Index among the 34 OECD member countries. Part of that initiative would include the creation of a special investigative team on corruption-related crimes. The president said Korea could grow by an extra percentage point if the country improved its transparency to the average level of the other OECD member countries. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Now, South Korea's foreign minister says that holding denuclearization talks without North Korea could be a way to revive the six-party talks, which have been stalled since late 2008. In an interview with Seoul-based Yonhap news agency on Tuesday, Yoon Byung-se said now is the time for the five parties, South Korea, the United States, China, Japan and Russia, to coordinate a response to North Korea's latest nuclear test. Minister Yoon called on China, the regime's longtime ally, to play a constructive role in pressuring Pyongyang, saying it is the international community versus North Korea when it comes to the regime's nuclear weapons program. President Park Geun-hye recently brought up the idea of holding five-party talks as one way to get the North to give up its nuclear weapons. South Korea grew in the 2% range last year, failing to reach the government's coveted growth range of 3%. The economy showed signs of recovery in the third quarter on the back of government measures, but the pickup was short-lived. Hwang Ji-ae has the details.
Faced with slowing global and domestic demand, the Korean economy only grew 2.6% last year. This marks the slowest pace of expansion in 3 years and comes as the economy was hit hard by the MERS outbreak and sluggish exports, mainly caused by the slowdown in China.
The contribution of exports to growth dropped for the sixth straight quarter in the last quarter of 2015. Domestic demand was responsible for 2 percentage points of growth in the third quarter, but that dropped to 0.8 percentage points in the fourth quarter.
The Korean government has been trying to rev up feeble recovery momentum through an aggressive round of stimulus measures. Korea's central bank joined the efforts by lowering the key interest rate to a record low of 1.5%. On the back of such measures, and especially thanks to some government-led sale events launched to jumpstart spending, the economy showed signs of a pickup in the third quarter, growing 1.3% from the previous three-month period. But the growth rate was more than halved in the fourth quarter as investment in the construction sector tumbled over 6% due to weakening home transactions. with such uncertainties threatening Korea's ability to reach its 3% range growth target this year as well. Korea's finance minister on Tuesday once again urged ministries to do their best to front-load their budget spending in the first 3 months. Hwang Jie, Arirang News.
Now, planes carrying thousands of frustrated and weary passengers have been departing Jeju International Airport after heavy snow forced the airport to close for nearly 2 days. Around 24,000 people were able to leave on flights restarting from Monday afternoon. Night flight restrictions have been temporarily removed until the backlog is cleared. But despite flights taking off pretty much every couple of minutes, tens of thousands of people are still stuck on the island, with more than 1,000 forced to stay at the airport itself in the terminal. For the latest, we're going to connect to Sujin Choi, news reporter for Jeju's KCTV. Sujin, another long and uncomfortable night for those unable to get a flight on Monday. How are things looking at the airport now?
Hello, Mark. Well, indeed, physical squabbles occurred as people tried to get seats on the resumed flights. As you mentioned, flights did resume. Planes have been leaving Jeju International Airport every several minutes since yesterday. And the first flight in 3 days actually took off around 3 p.m. Monday. Now, since then, up until 6 a.m. this morning, 32,000 passengers left the island on the 162 flights that were operated all throughout the night. And if you do the math, that's roughly about one flight leaving the airport every 5 minutes, non-stop. Now, another 70,000 or so people have yet to return home out of the 97,000 who were left stranded after their flights were cancelled post-Saturday. Authorities say that today, 228 flights are set to leave the airport, carrying around 44,000 passengers, and flights will continue to run on a 24-hour emergency schedule until early Wednesday. By around this time tomorrow, we do expect to see operations return to normal at Jeju International Airport.
Well, Sujin, we certainly hope that is the case and there's no more bad weather. That was Sujin Choi from Jeju's KCTV on the efforts to get those remaining passengers, tens of thousands of them, off the island after that thick blanket of snow brought the airport to a standstill earlier this week. Now, well, first we had that big freeze. Now we're having the big thaw. The intense cold wave that had Korea in its icy grip for several days has finally begun to subside, with the mercury returning to the positive side of freezing, fortunately. In Seoul, the daytime high on this Tuesday will reach a rather balmy 2 degrees Celsius, taking the temperature above freezing for the first time in 9 days. Now, Daejeon, in the center of Korea, will see the mercury top out at 3 degrees Celsius. Daegu will reach 5. As a result, cold wave alerts in almost every part of the country have been lifted now. Seoul is seeing some snow, though. As you can see on the video there, the capital is forecast to get just around 1 centimeter's worth during the day. Now, the extreme cold in Korea in recent days is freezing vegetable supplies, and this is leading to a significant jump in prices. And that is not only bad news for customers, but also for merchants. Oh So-young has the details.
The price of fresh produce has shot up in the past week. A kilo of radishes now costs around 57 cents. That's 54% higher than last week. The price of other vegetables have also climbed by 20 to 40%. These include staple foods for Koreans: cabbages, lettuce, pumpkins and chili peppers.
I'm wary of buying vegetables because the prices have risen so much. It's probably because of the weather.
It's not just customers that are feeling the blow. Due to the Arctic weather conditions in Korea, local merchants are seeing a reduction in the number of vegetable shipments from their suppliers. And the situation has worsened with their limited stocks freezing up in the cold.
We put the vegetables out on display anyway. The next morning, they're all frozen up. No one asks for them. Most people just walk past because it's cold.
Fruit prices haven't yet been affected, but households and merchants are worried because Lunar New Year is only 2 weeks away, and the celebrations involve tables laden with fruit and other kinds of produce. It all depends on the weather. The Korea Agro-Fisheries and Food Trade Corporation says produce prices will stabilize once the extreme weather conditions subside. Oh So-young, Arirang News.
Now, the market capitalization of Korea's biggest conglomerates has tumbled nearly 5% since the turn of the year on the back of increased overseas volatility. Korea Exchange says the combined value of the nation's top 10 groups was $602 billion as of Monday, down 4.5% from the end of last year. Of the groups, Hanwha's stocks posted the biggest drop at over 9%. The total market value of Korea's stock market as a whole has dropped over 3.5% since the start of the year. Analysts say the figures show the negative impact that low oil prices and the US rate hike have on Korea's export-driven conglomerates. Volkswagen drivers here in Korea are planning to file a class action lawsuit against the German car maker in the United States for manipulated emissions results in vehicles with 3-litre engines. This is in addition to another ongoing class action suit filed by owners of 2-litre models with the cheat devices. The group's legal representative says a growing number of Volkswagen customers in Korea are making inquiries about possible legal action regarding related damages claims. The lawsuit will likely be filed next month, with a similar suit to follow in Korea. According to market estimates, around 50,000 to 100,000 Volkswagen cars with the device have been sold here in Korea. Now, record low oil prices are prompting more and more Koreans to book flights overseas for the upcoming Lunar New Year holiday. International flights have fallen in price as travelers have not been charged fuel surcharges since September. Online shopping mall Timon says its international plane ticket sales this month have more than doubled compared to the same period last year. In particular, ticket sales to Europe and the United States have jumped more than 400%. This year's Lunar New Year holiday runs from February 8th to the 10th, but if you include the weekend, most people in Korea will have 5 straight days off work. Now, in a worrying development, the World Health Organization has warned that the Zika virus, a mosquito-borne virus linked to extremely serious birth defects, is expected to affect almost the entirety of the Americas, North and South. Now, fears are also growing as officials say they cannot rule out the possibility of person-to-person transmission. Son Jong-in reports.
The Zika virus is a mosquito-borne illness which may cause brain deformities in newborns and serious, sometimes deadly, developmental delays. Outbreaks have historically occurred in remote parts of Africa and the Pacific Islands, but it has spread quickly to South America and other regions since it was found in Brazil in May of last year. The WHO has warned the disease will soon be found throughout the Americas, with the only countries not expected to be affected being Canada and Chile.
The explosive spread of Zika virus to new geographical areas with little population immunity is another cause for concern, especially given the possible link between infection during pregnancy and babies born with small heads.
Asia is not considered a safety zone either, as the Zika virus has been reported in Cambodia, India, Thailand, Malaysia, and other parts of the continent before. Evidence about other transmission routes apart from mosquito bites is limited. But there has been a documented case of infection from sexual transmission, adding to concerns the virus could spread rapidly. Most adults infected with the Zika virus show only mild symptoms, including fever, rash, and red eyes. There is currently no vaccine or medication available to prevent or treat the virus. The best way to prevent the disease so far is to avoid mosquito bites by using repellent and covering exposed skin. The WHO advises pregnant women to avoid traveling to areas with Zika outbreaks and to consult a doctor before traveling and on return. 1.5 million people in Brazil are thought to have been infected by the virus. Officials at Olympic venues in Rio de Janeiro say they will undergo inspections every day to prevent the virus from spreading at this summer's games. Son Jong-in, Arirang News.
Well, those are stories we've been following on this Tuesday afternoon here in Seoul. For more of the latest, don't forget to check out the website arirang.com/news. We also have a smartphone application with all the latest news and also our TV programs on it. All you have to do is search for Arirang TV in the usual places. Have a great day. Goodbye.